In this week's drive, we see the future from Mercedes, watch a DIY pit stop, get down to basics, and see the rebirth of a legend. All this and more in this week's Drive. Mercedes-Benz have shown us their new F400 carving concept car, and unlike some concepts, this styling and engineering exercise actually works. The stunning Roadster showcases all the wizardry that Mercedes-Benz has been working on lately. Aside from its eye-catching shape, the most notable feature of the carving are its tilting front wheels. Called active camber control, the wheels themselves move inwards by up to 20 degrees when cornering, allowing the car to remain almost perfectly flat. This gives the specially developed tyres the greatest amount of traction and adhesion. Using drive-by-wire technology, this Benz has steering and braking controlled by computers, giving quicker responses from the car and overriding inappropriate human inputs. Also on the carving is the next generation of active body control, or ABC, which normally uses springs to control body roll. The new active hydro-pneumatic suspension is controlled by a computer to cut body lean even more. This means a car with superior cornering and stability, and then electronic stability control, or ESP, further increases the handling ability of the car. And if this isn't enough technology, the brakes are made of a lightweight carbon fiber ceramic that can withstand temperatures of up to 1,600 degrees. When Mercedes talks about new technology, the whole world listens. After all, that's where ABS anti-lock brakes and stability control technology came from in the first place. Sadly, this radically styled Roadster probably won't make it into production anytime soon, but it is a good indication of where the three-pointed star is heading. Michael Schumacher and the Ferrari Formula One team work hard between races to maintain their winning streak. Their tyre supplier does too. Don't be fooled by the simple grooves. These tyres are at the cutting edge of racing technology. Reigning champion Schumacher and Ferrari decided to delay the introduction of their new car for this season and entered the first few races in last year's title-winning car, and the gamble paid off. Now the new one has passed muster and has rewarded the Italian team with consecutive wins, but the testing and development continues relentlessly. Depending upon what is being trialled, the team use various tracks. This time it's nearby Mugello.
It's always perfect whenever the car is reliable and finish races, and that we have achieved. It could have been maybe good for us to be able to run it in Malaysia. Maybe we had a better chance at that stage, but the car simply wasn't ready. So the earlier it would have been ready, the better it would have been, but I think we sort of gave it the right time and shot. No, it couldn't have gone better, certainly, with the exception that Rubens might have, if you see from his point of view, should have stayed in second position after the start. Then it would have been a little bit easier, but the way the team had reacted and he drove his race still put him back in the same position. I mean, we always push at each end we can, and tyres obviously is a very substantial one, but they have recently really increased their game which sort of gave us the victory in Brazil in particular, but as well in Imola, which we didn't sort of expect. I think, as we have seen, that Brazil and Imola was supposed to be the BMW territory, that this year we cannot predict what is whose territory.
But when he's not peddling the world's best racing car, the world champ is still hard at work for his employer. Ferrari is owned by Italian giant Fiat, and Michael visited Istanbul to promote a new Turkish-made Fiat model. Hundreds of fans greeted him in Turkey, a country which is hoping to stage its first Grand Prix in 3 years' time. In launching the new car locally, Michael was seen live in a country where he would normally only be seen on television.
It gives me the feeling I'm doing something right. I give you some feelings, and I'm really proud of that, to be here today and to enjoy what you give to me. Thank you very much.
One of his tasks was to star, or perhaps co-star, in a local TV commercial.
Yeni Fiat Palio. Kullanmayanlar.
Formula One chief Bernie Ecclestone told Turkish motorsport officials last month that if they build him a track, he will bring them a race. There's currently no Grand Prix in the Middle East, but Turkey is up against Dubai and Egypt as a possible venue. The reigning World 125cc motorcycle champion, Manuel Poggiali, is a teenager, but the historic Italian marque he won with, Gilera, has kept alive the links to its glorious past with a modern presentation for today's fans and supporters. In its first season back on track after an 8-year absence, last year Gilera took its first title since Libero Liberati in 1957, and Poggiali's name was added to those of world champions such as Umberto Massetti and Jeff Duke, who, like Liberati, all took the honours for Gilera in the 500cc class. At a ceremony in Terni, Gilera presented their 2002 team as part of a weekend of activities held to mark the 40th anniversary of Liberati's death. After the show, Poggiali joined former Italian 500cc champion Reno Venturini, riding Liberati's 1957 World Championship-winning Gilera for a ride round the town. Poggiali was born in San Marino and celebrated his 19th birthday on February the 14th. He won the South African race and is gearing up for more wins this year.
It's important this season for me, for Gilera, for the team, because we try to repeat the result of the last year. It's difficult, but we try, sure.
The new Range Rover has been unveiled at a VIP ceremony at the Design Museum in London. The British-made car is only the third new Range Rover model in over 31 years. The original Range Rover launch was tea and biscuits at a hotel in Cornwall, but the lucky few who were there on June the 17th, 1970, witnessed the birth of a legend, one that is now in its third incarnation. For years, there was no competition to the Range Rover, and the first generation vehicle was so far ahead of its time, it remained in production until 1996. The features list includes a choice of V8 petrol or turbo diesel engines, 5-speed automatic gearbox, hill descent control, 4-wheel traction control, dynamic stability control, electronic brake force distribution, interconnected electronic air spring suspension, bi-xenon headlamps, up to 8 airbags, a heated multifunction leather steering wheel, interior and exterior auto-dimming mirrors, widescreen TV and navigation system, windscreen with rain sensors, and even remote control parked heating.
The London Design Museum, we think, is a perfect location because the original Range Rover 31 years ago became a design icon. It invented the luxury four-wheel drive segment. The new Range Rover may look conservative, but it's very important that you recognize it as a Range Rover from half a mile down the road. You shouldn't have to wait till you can see the badge. So it's important that it has those immediately identifiable Range Rover cues. But we've brought them up to date. We've made them contemporary. And when you see the interior, that's a completely new statement of how future Land Rover products will be.
The new Range Rover was conceived when Land Rover was owned by BMW, but has been delivered by the new Ford-appointed management.
What really inspired us to this design is the customers. We know that our customers love Range Rover, and they've always loved classic Range Rover. So really what you see in this particular car is a lot of the classic influences.
The vehicle's interior has been completely redesigned too. 3 decorative finishes, traditional burr walnut, avant-garde cherry and sporting foundry, mixed with 7 seat colours, 4 lower and 2 upper trim colours to allow customers to choose an interior. Other features include 2 different leather treatments and chrome dashboard detailing. Don Wyatt is Land Rover's chief designer.
Well, in reality, this model is a completely new model from the ground up. The exterior body style, for example, is absolutely superb, and the interior will rival all luxury vehicles, no matter whether they're a luxury car or a luxury SUV.
The model range is being built at the company's Solihull factory in the West Midlands of England on a new production line. More than £200 million has been invested in the factory to ensure that quality levels are world-class. The new Range Rover has an all-new, stiffer monocoque body with integrated chassis and an all-independent suspension with interconnected air springs. It has extensive use of aluminium for weight reduction and crash test performance which comfortably exceeds all current standards. About 30,000 new cars will be built at Land Rover's Solihull plant each year. The new Range Rover is one of the most thoroughly tested vehicles in history. During development, prototypes were taken to the frozen wastes of the Arctic and the searing heat of the Sahara. They were challenged to boulder-strewn climbs and descents, and air conditioning systems were tested in the world's harshest rush-hour traffic. Over 2.4 million kilometres of some of the world's toughest terrain were logged during development. But this sort of luxury and capability comes at a price, upwards of £50,000. Motor shows are places you expect to see the newest, latest models from the world's car manufacturers. So what's this old Citroën doing here? Once the symbol of down-and-out motoring, the Citroën 2CV is being turned into a cult vehicle, a must-have for the well-off. It's the ultimate niche market for Belgian car restorer Philippe Royen, who's making a killing out of selling one of Europe's poorest cars to the super-rich. The last 2CV went out of production in July 1990, a victim of modern technology and the butt of bad jokes. Royen buys up the hulks of 2CVs and restores them. Now the car has reached the level of a status symbol it never had when it was in regular production. It's in a small Brussels garage that the 2CVs are being reborn. Rusted hulks are brought to his garage in often piteous state. There they are stripped down, their chassis thrown away, and the body is sandblasted and galvanized to remove and prevent any rust, making them better than new. Perhaps not surprisingly, the French-speaking Royer uses the language of seduction when talking about the vehicles he restores.
Je la déshabille tout à fait.
I completely strip her.
Tout ce qui est pourri, rouillé, tout ça, je jette.
All the parts that are rotten or rusted I remove.
Il est jeté.
The chassis is always thrown away.
Je les récupère, le bras avant, le bras arrière. Le moteur, je récupère.
I recycle the engine, the
la boîte, je
suspension and the
récupère,
gearbox.
Et je déshabille tout.
Often the cars are so badly damaged that Royer has to patch them up with tailor-made spare parts made to his specification in the UK. A fresh coat of paint in the body shop, and what was once a valueless wreck becomes a vintage car worth a few $1,000s. It takes about 15 days for two mechanics working full-time to completely restore a 2CV to its former glory. Royen describes this as a labour of love. 2CV stands for the French abbreviation, 2 chevaux, for 2 horsepower, the rating of the engine which powers the small vehicle. It was first designed in the 1930s as a vehicle capable of transporting 4 people and a crate of eggs across a freshly ploughed field, without breaking the eggs. The uniqueness of the 2CV's design makes it an easy car to restore. Each of the body panels is bolted onto a platform chassis, purpose-built by a 2CV club in France. The 600cc engine is entirely stripped down and refurbished before being placed in the freshly painted body. Royen knows the type of people who are likely to love the unlovely car dubbed the Snail. Most of them are from the generation of the 60s. They're a bit out of time themselves. The 2CV for them is the symbol of their youth, their life, their student life, their first holidays and their first love, everything. It all took place around the 2CV. Royen admits he's a 2CV fanatic. He originally started restoring the vehicles when his garage was going out of business, a victim of modern cars which need far less maintenance. The original 2CV enthusiasts were the leftovers from a generation when flares, donkey jackets and pot were cool. You can't help but think that there's just a bit of the hippie hidden in Royen himself sometimes.
pas une voiture, hein, c'est un style de vie, c'est un art de vivre, c'est...
This isn't just a car, it's a way of life.
On le regarde, hein.
It's a part of an art of life.
C'est pas une voiture qui t'a peur, hein.
The guy who's got a CV is a guy who's
C'est pas une
admired.
voiture, tiens, qu'est-ce que tu l'as, hein? Hein?
But it's not a car for a show-off.
Avec sa voiture, non, pas du tout, hein. C'est un style,
It's not a
hein.
car for the kind of guy who wants to show off. It's got style and a good feel to it.
C'est une sympathie. Voilà.
Nowadays, though, his clients are just as likely to be well off, seeking to express their wealth through conspicuous originality rather than ostentatiousness. But no amount of refurbishment or restoration will ever change that one particular feature that has so endeared so many millions to the 2CV. The unique whining and putting that comes from the air-cooled engine as the shiny new car drives off. A Japanese toy maker has made tiny radio-controlled cars for grown-up kids still clinging to the steering wheels of their childhood. The cars may be tiny, but they pack a punch. Standing 27mm or about an inch high and 50mm or about 2 inches long, these mini cars can corner at speeds that take their owners by surprise. Penny racers were just simple pullback motorised cars, but now they're fully radio-controlled. And they've taken Japan by storm. Every week, hundreds of adults turn up at a trendy nightclub to test their racing skills. Kenichi Kuroki is Deputy General Manager of Teikar, the car's manufacturers. One of the reasons of this toy's success is that people currently now in their 30s are now excited about how the penny cars can be controlled freely. And that is thanks to current technology. And a second reason is these small radio-controlled toys are perfect for the small modern Japanese home. In fact, the technology has more to do with mobile phones than radio. We've actually aimed the market at adults this time. Toys are no longer the prerogative of only children. Adults need to have fun to forget the current troubles they are going through. That's also why this event is for adults. The miniaturized motors use similar technology to the vibrators used in mobile phones, while the control system is based on infrared rays used to exchange mobile phone data. Takara admits that the technology has been around for quite some time, but it's only with the popularity of the mobile phone that costs of the parts have come down enough to produce it as a toy. Indeed, at $40 for the set of car and controller, the price tag is not exorbitant, especially for the 30-somethings that pack this downtown nightclub in Tokyo on Wednesday nights. The adults seem to agree as they forget their troubles practicing their car racing techniques to the beat of blaring club music through the night. Takara, however, has no need to forget anything. Their shares have soared nearly 10% since the toy's release. Well, that's all for this week. But so you stay on track and informed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.